Su nombre es Peter Nitoyando.
No.
¿No?
No, correcto. Well, I don't know if I should give you all the information. Battan, el primer nombre es Battan.
Batán.
Right? Y the last name is Nitolano.
Nitolano.
Peter fue mi papá.
Ah, ya. Batán Nitolano.
So they got it wrong when they were doing that part of history.
Ya, ya.
Right?
Batán Nitolano.
Right.
Batán.
Peter. No, Peter.
Oh, I
Peter
see.
the father.
Ah, okay.
Es Batán
Entonces,
Nitolano.
fue uno promotor que se llama Federico, que yo fui a trabajar con él. Él le puse el nombre, en una carta dice, call Joe Carmen or Battan. So he made a big mistake and he put Joe Battan. So I said, oh, it sounds good. And I left it, because what that did was, it erased my past. Right? Tú sabes que cuando yo joven, yo estaba un títere, right? So cuando cambiaron el nombre Joe Battan, entonces yo fui músico. Y people forgot. Huh? Yeah. He didn't know he was doing.
But he was creative.
Yeah, he didn't know it's what he was doing. Because I used to call myself Battan and the Latin Swingers. So he saw the card. He said, Joe Battan. I said, oh, that sounds good, man. And it saved my life in a way, because it gave me a chance, because I had enemies like mad. You got that on tape? Oh man, okay, good.
If they wake him out, it will not come back.
Okay, well, you know why? Because in every interview that I do, and I did many through the years, I try to tell you something different that I haven't told anybody else, because otherwise you're going to hear the same story. Yeah, he grew up in a barrio. Yeah, he was this. I'm trying to give you some insight so that you could take something else different.
Okay. And one of those is the one later on. We have
Okay.
about 4 to 5 different topics, and one of those is, of course, the mayor here in Cali, Colombia, but you hear about the El Avión,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he didn't know he was a big hit. So at some point we want to.
Sure, I'll tell you the story, yeah.
So we should get going. So how do you going to introduce and then help you with the.
So you want the good and the bad, or you want me to just keep it cream puff?
Be you.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you the truth.
Okay, great.
All right.
That's what we want. That's what we want.
All right.
Estamos con el señor Batán Nitolano.
All right.
Músico neoyorquino, oriundo de Spanish Harlem, del barrio, ¿verdad? Más conocido como Joe Battan. That's right.
He's there in New York.
Right.
Nueva York.
Joe Battan. Dirigió, tuvo una orquesta, una banda muy famosa, muy querida en Cali, Colombia, por allá en finales de los años 60, comienzos del 70, con una canción inolvidable, conocida como El Avión. ¿Cuándo se hizo usted músico? When did you get a musician?
When did I start?
Yeah.
About,
How do you initiate yourself as a musician?
well,
Go on into music.
I always sang for many years. I used to sing in the hallway. So we had a style of singing called doo-wop, right? That's before salsa and a lot of the other musical trends that they had. So, yo fui a la cárcel, and cuando yo salí de la cárcel, I started to learn and teach myself music. I never had a teacher, a self-taught musician. So I would go into the school, la escuela, and I practiced there for 6, 7, 8, 10 hours a day. And what I did was I was able to organize a band. But en ese tiempo, it was very difficult for me to get musicians para tocar conmigo. So what I did is I got some young kids que tenían nada más que 11 años, 12 años. I was the oldest. Yo tenía como 19 años. And yeah, sí. And what happened was I started to practice with these kids. I would have to take them home at night because the mothers didn't want them to be with Batán el títere. So I had to explain, no, ningún títere, yo soy músico ahora, And anyway, what happened was that I kept practicing and practicing with these kids. And in 6 months, we started to make records. It's a miracle. The story, when they first played our record in the radio, was Gypsy Woman. And it was like an instant hit. It felt like at that time we were the Michael Jackson of New York, right? And everybody came to see JBattan because not only they came to see the Latin part of JBattan, but they wanted to see the soul part also. So a lot of New Yorican, which is Puerto Ricans that grew up in New York, weren't accustomed to being strict followers of Latin music. So they welcomed this new sound that was coming from JBattan. And what it did, it increased the audience. It increased it so big that now you have Morenos dancing in the halls, dancing Latin and good. You had, of course, Puerto Ricans, Dominicanos. Everybody was coming out. And then there were, of course, Los Blanquitos that came out also, Los Judíos, which they always used to support the Palladium anyway. But now they had a chance to hear Latin music with an English language lyric. So this was important to the audience because a lot of the radio disc jockeys would not play straight Latin music if they couldn't understand the language. So now you kept the same beat, the cha-cha, or whatever it was, and they called it the boogaloo. I like to call it Latin soul because it lasts longer. The boogaloo, they say, was only 3 or 4 years. Latin soul lasts forever. So I kept going and kept playing it and called it Latin soul. That's why JBattan is still here today. And once it caught on, the rest was history. They held back history, a lot of the record companies, by not promoting that sound, because during the 70s, JBattan left Fania. I am the first radical artist to leave Fania Records. Yo lo dejo a Fania.
Yeah.
Yo fui el primero. Right? Entonces, what they were going to do, they were going to assassinate JBattan. They took my music off the radios.
Oh.
Nobody knows this.
No.
We're not going to tell you the truth. They said, we can't let this guy continue to influence people and be on the record because we made him a star and now he wants to leave. So if he goes with nothing.
Oh.
But gracias a Dios, they couldn't stop JBattan. Because after that, I started South Soul Records. I started Ghetto Records. South Soul became one of the biggest record companies in the world.
Yeah.
And the sound kept on going, you know? I know I'm jumping your history, but if you bring me back, you know, I'll explain.
So quick question. For how long were you with Fania?
Oh boy, you said 1965 to about 1971 or 2.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The Riot was recorded with Fania.
Yeah, with Fania. That was the biggest, that was their biggest record in that time.
Yeah.
Jerry Masucci told me, he says, Joe, he said, the Riot outsells everybody in Latin music 4-1. Right? I don't know if you understand what that meant. That meant anybody, I don't care who it was, is outsold everybody 4-1. That's the first time that he gave me my money, what he owes me, right? So of course I'm gonna agree with him, you know. But a lot of the artists had trouble getting their money. To this day, I am alive and I could tell you the truth. That's why when the JBattan story comes out, you will hear the truth like you never heard before. You see, because I have nothing to lose. Most of those people are gone. Don't get me wrong, they did a lot for music, right? But we could have reached our goal a long time ago if they hadn't stopped certain musics from progressing, right? So we had to wait for Gloria Esteban. We had to wait for this guy with La Loco and all these other artists in the year 2000 so that Latin music se pegó.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to wait that long. We were doing that years ago. But they would not play our music. So they killed the boogaloo. because the Boogaloo bands were playing 2-3 times a night, while the big artists, they were not playing. You see, but it was a fad, it was a career thing, but there was room for everybody. But you see, but because JBattan left Fania Records, they were going to make me an example. So after they killed JBattan, they're going to kill everybody else. You see? And then they had great success, because the only thing you heard in the airways was salsa. Then that was the rebirth of salsa and how it became popular. But before the Boogaloo came, Latin music was dying. You know, it had died. All the great artists, they couldn't get work. You see, because El Montuno, for a long time, always sound the same. You could always tell the next Montuno, right? But there's only few artists like Eddie Palmieri, Joe Cuba. They changed, they always gave you something fresh. You know what I mean? So when you gave something fresh to the public, you open your eyes. I mean, Eddie is a perfect example how he's done that for years. So he was always able to change, you know, and bring something new into the music. And that's what people want, you see? And that's what Latin soul does. So it's funny about JBattan, because now my old music is popular again.
Return.
Because people didn't hear it. So they think it's new. It's not new. Right? I go all over Europe. I've been to Australia, I've been to Japan, Philippines, England. The story is the same. Joe, please tell us the days of El Barrio. How was it? Just like when you're asking me, that's all the interviews I say. Well, I grew up as a kid, life was hard, and they want to hear the story. It's like Colombia. After 1976, they call the rest of the music romantic. They don't want to hear it. They want to hear the old stuff. And that's what happened to me when I went to Colombia. You know, the people explained to me, he says, no, Joe. He says, we want to hear everything from 1976 back. I said, get out of here. He says, yes.
In what year do you record the riot?
The riot, 1968.
1968.
Right.
That's right.
And let me tell you a story about that song. That song was written by Smokey Robinson.
Yeah.
It's not a hit. Nobody wanted the song. I changed the song around, made it danceable, put Latin instruments into it, 2 trombones, and it became history. Because you have to understand and picture in your mind that the band that I had were 12, 13 years old. So the first rule I had was, anybody talks to you, you must talk to them, right? You can't tirarte para atrás, you know, or they, no, not in my band. You have to be friendly with everybody. The public loved, because I taught them how to dance. Bands were not dancing back then. The only Gran Combo, I learned that from the Gran Combo. That was the only band that was really dancing, right? They had routine. Every other band, they played good, but they didn't move. So I got this idea to do this with the young kids. And when we did this and we performed the riot, nobody could perform after we finished. Joe Cuba, when he played with us in St. George Hotel, we played song after song. When I played the riot, he threw the sticks up in the air. And I never forget that. Izzy Sanabria will tell you that day. Never forget that. That song was the most spectacular song. I can't even do it again. The history, I'm sorry that they had not filmed the stories and what that song did. We played a boat ride with Taft High School. They'll never forget. It's on the back of the album. The boat was rocking side to side. Nobody would leave the boat. The principal begged me, Battan, please stop playing. We played the riot for 1 hour and a half. And that song on the boat, in the water, and the boat was going like this, and everybody was scared, right? And we said, throw the principal overboard. Que se tire pa'l agua, you know? We were crazy back then.
Really
So speaking of the riot, and it's a good feeling, it also became very, very popular, as you might know now, in Cali, Colombia. And Alejandro's going to share a story as a young, teenager. living that experience in Cali. I wasn't at that time in Cali, but
Yeah.
I danced that hit. It really was a hit for all generation, my generation.
Okay.
We go to dance in different discotheques.
Uh-huh.
And when I think it's in 1969 or 1970, maybe, but I know. Around
Yeah, that's
around
about
that year, I think. And cuando el disco llegó, solamente lo tenía una discoteca. Y entonces todo el mundo iba a esa discoteca
Para bailar.
para escuchar ese disco.
Really?
No lo había en ninguna otra.
Uh,
Y a los meses empezó a sonar en otra, y entonces eso fue un furor así, pero era impresionante.
wow.
Era impresionante. Hasta que ya se fue generalizando, ya fue sonando en otros sitios, pero inicialmente la discoteca que tenía ese disco llenaba todo el tiempo
Wow.
su lugar, porque la gente, uno quería era oír y bailar el avión.
Mira, pa-
Never for us, never the name was the radio. No.
Right, it's el avión.
Always el avión.
Because they hear, yeah. El avión, yeah.
Y uno hoy en día uno lo programa en la radio y eso suena como hace 40 años atrás y en un baile se toca también. Se
Yeah.
programa así y la gente gusta mucho del avión.
Yeah, that was a very successful record. We owe a lot to that record because it helped us grow as performers.
Yeah.
You know, the band, we learned something from that song because we took a song that nobody would think that they could do at that time, you know, because it was a wild song. You had to really give a show when you did that song, you know, and to get people to participate, it was amazing. So I understand your story because it happened everywhere we played. For 3 years.
3 years.
3 years that record was going strong.
So you left Pania about almost 5 years working with them, and then you decided to start your own record company. Get a record.
Well, first I went with Americana,
Americana.
right? And of course then they brought on Folklorico, you know, Andy Gonzalez came and they recorded the Latin part of the album. You got to understand, South Soul, this was Jewish Arabs. They knew nothing about music. I'm the one that taught them, right? And when I explained, they said, "But why are you leaving Fania?" I said, "Because I didn't make any money. I want to be my own boss. I want to start my own label." He said, "Oh, okay." He gave me the money and I made the record. But of course, a lot of what I was saying, I wasn't sure that I could pull it off. So when I had the album, I said, what am I gonna do now? You know? So I had to go to the radio stations. I never did that before. Sometimes the artist cannot go approach a radio station. So I went and I asked the guy, and he said, leave it there. And it was a famous disc jockey named Frankie Crocker. Se murió, WBLS. And I went downstairs and he played the whole album. This is unheard of in Latin music. You don't play the whole album. You might play one chord, and then there's American stations. So now the airwaves are 50,000 kilowatts strong. So everybody's hearing this record. Now you got blacks, Chinese, Judío, everybody listening to Latin music. And this was the start of bringing in the other cultures to a sound that they tried to subdue, you see? So of course they were angry that it was me and it wasn't them, because Jerry Masucci always wanted to have a Latin Motown, you see? But he didn't have the know-how on how to do that. He was searching, just like he searched with Latin music, and he got lucky when he had Pacheco with him and all those other artists. After that, he didn't have to be a genius. You know, he just followed us along. But when it came to the American music, or the Latin soul, he didn't have the he tried, but he failed. So when I went to South Soul, I was successful. You see, because he didn't have that extra push and being aggressive in that market. he didn't know how to approach that market. He might have had money, but it didn't do him any good. So these people approached, and Salsoul became the #1 dance record company in the world. Because now they brought in everybody. They brought the Philly sound. You know, they brought all these different artists. And there's only one thing that they did different after that. All the public was crying for is put the conga in there. Put the cowbell in there. So we could identify with our sound. That's all it was. And then they call it, I named the name, that's my name, Salsoul, because it meant salsa and soul. I didn't want to say Latin soul, so I said Salsoul, right? So whatever they tell you that they started that, it's not true. JBattan started Salsoul. That's my name, and I put the first album, my first album is named Salsoul. And the rest became history, you know.
That's about 1973, is that right?
Well, that was when I first made the first record, yeah, Afro-Filipino, you know. And then 1980 was really when it got big.
How many long plays did you record?
Well, compilations, I don't know.
5, 6?
Where, at that time?
Yeah, that.
Well, I did about 5, 6, I don't know, 7, something like that, you know. And then I did the others were with Salsoul. So what happened, I left Salsoul and came back. I had an argument because nobody wants to pay JBattan. You see, so I'm always fighting. So in England, they used to write, he says, I don't know what's wrong with this guy because everywhere he goes, he starts a fight, right? But it wasn't a fight. I just wanted my money, right? So people didn't like that because I was a wise guy, right? If I tell you, hey, you got to pay me. So they think that the rap artists today were the gangsters of music that want their money, they get paid. JBattan wanted to get paid back then. So it wasn't no problem for me. Mete mano, chico, yo quiero mío. And that's how it was because I grew up in La Calle. I grew up in El Barrio, so that's all we knew. You know, you take from me, I'm going to take back from you. You see, so a lot of those record companies didn't know that because musicos in that time were musicos. They weren't tough guys, maybe a few. But, you know, a lot of them were musicians. I don't know how to explain that. But they weren't like, music was first, right? Me was life, my family. How I'm going to pay my rent and you give me my money. So they didn't like that. Fania didn't like that. You know, Salsoul didn't like it too, but they wanted to pay, so I left. You know? Yeah. Then I had problems, you know, with Salsoul, and after 3 or 4 years, I came back to Salsoul. You know?
And then around 1979, I guess.
That was a big year. I came back and I discovered something again. You know, JBattan was always finding new ways to make music. You see, nobody I fear in my life, and not being arrogant, but my ideas were ahead of time. I might not have been the greatest musician, but my ideas were ahead of the time. I was playing in a community center, and I always used to go to discotheques. Latin musicians never went to discotheques in the early days. They just played their music. They didn't know about freeform dancing. They never heard of the Garage, the Sanctuary. These are big clubs that people used to go underground. So I used to go and I watched the kids dancing. So anytime JBattan wrote a song, canción, I would test it out with the kids. So I would bring it to the kids. They play this, see what it, if the kids dance, then I knew I might like it, but it might not be any good. You need the public. So I learned that for a long time, I used discotheques when nobody else did. They didn't even call discotheques at that time, you know? So I went and I saw these kids dancing in the floor, and all they was doing was clapping their hands, stamping their feet, and the guy scratched, shh. I said, what's that? ¿Qué carajo eso? He says, oh, there's no name. They didn't have no name. No fue ningún nombre. So I said, hey, is that records? He said, no, it's not a record. So I talked to the kid. I said, look, I like to record that. I'm JBattan. They didn't know who I was. It's a JBattan. ¿Quién es? Un viejo ya, you know? So I said, look, I'll get the studio. I went, sin chavo. I went to RCA Records. I said, look, give me credit. I want to record something new. So I got the band, I wrote the chart, had the music played. Then I told the kids, look, you want to do something? Write a song about everybody, right? And then name all the countries in the world. So they wrote something, and I said, yeah, we're going to do it tomorrow. Show up. So I'm waiting there. I got credit at RCA Records. They didn't come, right? This fue La Bomba that they were going to play on JBattan, right? La Bomba, right? Okay, they weren't going to come. I said, ¿Qué va a hacer ahora? You know, so the girls were there, and I said, what am I going to do? He says, do that shit yourself. Yo mismo, yeah. Dame tratar de eso. So they pulled the record, and I said, new thing out, going to make, shout, got rhythm, got beat, going to move your feet. I said, coño, maybe I could do this shit, you know? Toca música. And then I did it. 3 million records later.
3 million?
3 million at the first. I brought the record back to South Soul. The girl heard it. I had an argument with South Soul. I'm not with South Soul anymore. They said, what does he want? He said he got something new. He says, I don't want to talk to him. He said, but he was talking to Larry Levant, very famous DJ for the kids, right? He said, Larry Levant? He said, let me hear what he got. So I played the record. He says, oh man, we got to deal with RCA. I'll put it out tomorrow. I said, yeah, but I got to get paid. I always want to get paid, right? He said, I ain't got no money. I said, well, look, you signed a contract here. I said, I'll give you permission in the United States if you put it out tomorrow, because I know Sugar Hill Gang has got it too, and they're going to come and they're going to beat me. You see? So I did my research. Oh, man, I got to be number one. I got to be first. But it was too late. Sugar Hill came and said, oh, tremendo, hip-hop to the pop. And I said, oh, shit, I missed it again. So entonces they called me and said, Joe, we want the record. I said, okay, put it out. He said, here, me di un peso to sign the contract because you have to have a dollar or money pass. But the only secret that I did right was I said, only for the United States. 1 week later, they got a call from Holland. We want JBattan and that record to come to Holland. I said, why? He said, that record is going to be a big hit. I said, how you know? He said, we know. So they said, Joe, you want to go to Holland? I said, I'm not going to go to Holland for what? How much you going to pay me? He says, no money. No money? He said, yeah, but maybe money in 2 or 3 years if he plays. I said, I don't want to go to Holland. I don't know nobody over here. But anyway, they convinced me and I went to Holland. When I went to Holland, I never came back home for 6 months. When I got to Holland, France called. We want JBattan here. This is going to be a big hit. Germany called. Big hit, #1 song in music Latin. 40 million people want to hear it. Spain, a big hit. We want you to record it in Spanish. Big hit. I went to every country in Europe. It became the top 10, one of the biggest records in my life. To this day, this is 1979.
6 months touring Europe.
Yeah, I didn't come home because every country called me, and RCA, of course, a big company now, they pay for everything. First class. Yeah, send them, yeah. So, I mean, it was #1 record in Belgium, #2 in Holland, #3 in France, and at the same time, fighting with Sugar Hill Gang for the top spot. Now, the United States would not play JBattan. England would not play JBattan because they wanted my publishing. I said, no, I can give you shit. You're gonna take my publishing, you know? And they said, oh, we're not gonna play your record. So I just came back from England 3 years ago. It took me 30-some years to go to England and to tell my story. Why England never let me come to England, because they wanted my song. They wouldn't play my song. So it was Fania all over again. So during all that time, you could see that JBattan had his up and down. I had to fight. And somebody said it, because they just honored me in the Smithsonian last year in Washington, D.C. My portrait is in the National Gallery now for posterity. I mean, that's a big thing for a guy like me. And somebody said, you know, JBattan, he had no idea what he was doing when he was doing his music. And it's true, you know, because now sometimes I cry when I hear the stories, because people don't really know what some musicians go through, you know. So now I could see the light, and, you know, to be appreciated now. I'm 70 years old. God is in my life now. You see, I'm a different person, and I know the secret. See, all I had to do was ask for my daily bread every day, and he keeps me going, because that's my testimony. JBattan almost died twice already. And God went down when I was in a coma, and he pulled me back. And he said, Joe, he said, why you keep running away from me? He said, I give you all this talent to do something when you didn't do nothing. Nothing for nobody. It's always JBattan. He said, I want to bring you back. I want you to tell people about me. And for the last 15 years, this is what I do. There's no concert that I go, or even on my Facebook page, that I don't do the prayer. And it's my way of thanking. And I found out JBattan has another audience now. You see, despite all the JBattan music and everything, I'm nobody. Number one is the big boss. Because sin Dios, there's nothing. And that's the secret. When people ask me, Joe, how come you still playing? And then when everybody's dead, or what did you do? I didn't do nothing. But that's the secret. When I'm finished, I'm going. As long as I say his name, I keep getting energy and strength to come here. You know? I mean, I'm not bragging, but look, come on, I'm 70 years old, right? And I feel good. And I feel guilty sometimes, you know? But I know it's because it's something I have to do. So you here and you here today, it's not an accident. You see, Jose is not an accident, because they want me to play in that barrio. You see, even though JBattan is going to come with a sound, I'm going to come with another message too. I'm going to hit the brothers and the sisters out there with a message that we all forgot. Spiritually, we need it in Colombia too. That's why this is important. That they know that all these things that JBattan said, look how he ended it. And Tito Ramos from the Boogaloo Blues, he said to me, Joe, he said, your story is not a tragedy. He said, don't you know most of the stories that they put in movies and they do this, it's always a tragedy. It's always something bad at the end, right? He said, it don't have to be that way. We can send a good message sometimes to people. So maybe I can do more by young kids knowing my story and what I went through, and to see where I am now, that'll make them realize, you know, that we gotta love one another. And that's the big secret.
Esther, how is doo-wop? Can you sing doo-wop? No.
Doo-wop?
Yeah.
Yeah, doo-wop. Yeah. Let's see. You're driving me crazy. Oh, my darling, where have you been? It seems oh so childish that I always count to 10. You don't seem to understand that I'm crazy just for you. Let's do up.
In the hallway.
Yeah, the do-up. You get an echo chamber. Yeah.
Very nice, huh?
So music historians like Max Salazar, I have a copy of his book here.
Oh, a good friend of mine. Yeah.
They, in the music world, they say that you kind of disappeared. You took a break from music after 1980, right? About over 20 years.
Yeah, 15 years, yeah.
What was that break about?
I started working. I got a job, right? This is another important part of my life. I was a counselor at Spofford. Now, that's a prison for young kids. I was locked up there as a kid. So when Fania stopped playing my music, I didn't get no work. Everything was like salsa, you know, the purists took over. So there was no room for JBattan. You know, I lost contact with everybody. I didn't know anybody. So My wife didn't want to hear you with JBattan. ¿Qué carajo JBattan? You're going to go, vete a buscar un trabajo ahora, chico. You know, so I had to find a job. And I said, oh, man, it's un bochorno, because how am I going to find a job after I did what I did, right? So I ate my pride and everything, and I started looking in the newspapers. And I always was able to talk, right? So the first guy I went to for a deal that was going to hire me, he said, look, I'm going to pay you small salary to work in the garment district. So I started laughing. I said, my daughter makes more than that. ¿Cómo yo voy a trabajar for that kind of money? He said, well, that's what we're going to pay you to make you a supervisor. And then I said, no. I said, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'll work for you for free. So he looked at me like I was crazy. Huh? I said, what do you mean you work for free? I said, yo trabajo gratis. But if you like me, then you pay me my money. He said, oh, no, I can't do that. So I said, okay, thank you, bye. I went home. He called me. Come on, work, I'm going to pay you. So I learned and how to talk the same way I negotiate, right? And I did this with record companies. With South Soul, I did that, right? After the first album was a big hit, he said, come on, let's do the next album, Joe Carey. And I said, Joe, thank you so much. God bless you. You brought JBattan back. Now my name is all over the place, you know? He says, what do you mean? I said, well, now you have to pay me. He said, oh, you're a wise guy. I said, no, I learned from you. So he paid me. See? So, you know, and I learned, I don't know if you remember this, but Jose probably does. In Pelota, there was two pitchers, Koufax and Drysdale. They both left the Dodgers and said, we're not pitching. No va a tocar my baseball if you don't pay us. And they got the money. So I learned from that. And that's what I told Fania, and that's what I told South Soul. JBattan don't sing no more unless you pay me. And each time I got paid. But of course, they never paid me what they really owed me. You know what I mean? So, somebody told me in California when I was having problema with my music being played on the radio. Ray Andrade, he was a producer of Chico and the Man with Freddie Prinze. And he said, Joe, we want you to come out here. I want you to do the song for Chico and the Man. I said, yeah, I'd like to, you know. He says, but what's the problem? I said, the radio won't play my records. He said, why? I said, I don't know, I'm from New York. They don't want me over in California. He said, leave it to me. What he did was, he took 1,000 Chicanos and they picket the radio station. The next day, JBattan's record was playing. I learned, he says, Joe, let me teach you. What? He said, the airwaves belong to the people. It don't belong to the radio station. They have to service the community. So you can dictate what you want to be played on that radio. That's why I can't understand New York. We let a lot of garbage go on the radio, and that's why I always support public radio. Right? I wish I would have known about public radio when I was younger, because that's all I would listen to. You know? But the commercial radio, it's controlled. Dollars controlled. We don't have no voice unless we go out there and pick it and say, we want you to play this. You're not servicing our community. And listen to this. I don't know if you know this, Jose, and Felipe knows. WBLS, they won't play no Latin music. Frankie Crocker was the last one that played salsa in with his station. They want to keep it all black. How you going to keep it all black? It's a rainbow station. There's Caribbean. They need to be pulled their coat, because a lot of Latinos, they listen to BLS and hip hop and all that stuff. So you tell me you ain't gonna play no Latin music? Nah. But New York is behind. People think, well, it's the biggest city in the world, and yet a lot of European countries are ahead of us with salsa and Latin music. They appreciate it.
So after that long break, you came back with a hit.
I talk too much.
Call My Name, right?
Oh, okay, Call Me. That's another story.
Okay.
I wasn't doing anything. And there was a young kid by the name of Danny Colas. He saw me in SOBs, I was playing, and he walked up to me and says, Joe, I'd like to record you. So, you get people come over. I say, yeah, okay. Call me, here's my card. He said, okay, I'll call you. So he calls me. He said, look, I want to record. I said, well, you got to pay. This is what I want. He said, okay, I have to borrow the money, but I'll get it for you. So he paid me. So he says, we did the album. The album was recorded in Deptone Studios in Brooklyn. The same place Amy Winehouse and Sharon Jones did their album. So the three of us have something in common. Each one of us did that album in the basement, in this little place. And he didn't know what to do with the record. So I said, look, there's a company in Spain called Vampy Soul. Call them up, tell them you got JBattan. He called them up, and they said, yeah, we want it. So, of course, I knew that he couldn't sell the album without me, so he had to come back to me. Hey, Joe, they want the album. So he listened to me, but he didn't listen to me. He tried to make the deal all Danny Colas, and he made a big mistake, because once you do that to me, I cut you off. So he never had any more success. But JBattan, I kept traveling around the world as a result of that album. We had 400 interviews that year alone. Call My Name came out and people were talking about it around the world. Wow, JBattan has been away for 15 years and here he came with a song that's a hit. And everybody's playing it. They started to put some of the songs in movies. I think Common, he copied it, and a couple other people. And they had a great success. So Vampy Soul was on the map again, And it allowed me to start traveling and touring Europe. Yeah, so now, since that time, I've traveled to France 4 or 5 times already. England, I've been there 3 times, so it has helped me in my travels.
So piggybacking on that, en español, tenemos un dicho en Colombia, no sé si en Puerto Rico también, o aquí en Nueva York con los nuyoricanos, los boricuas, nadie es profeta en su propia tierra. I don't know if you have heard about that. I've heard that. Yeah. So nobody's a prophet in his own land, right?
Right.
So it seems to me that that's kind of part of your story. You had your time, but then pretty much you went to Europe. You were sounding everywhere in Europe. They were playing your music. They really wanted your music there. You took your break, and then you came back to Europe the last few years, and you still big hit there now again. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because the one difference is the internet. We didn't have internet. I couldn't follow my music before. If Jerry Masucci was selling in Japón all these songs with JBattan, I didn't know. I didn't know that El Avión was a big hit in Colombia. He knew. Palacio, that was the record company from Venezuela that was putting out the music. I think that's where he went to hide in Argentina, and when he died, he went there, probably to spend his money, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, the internet allowed me now to know where JBattan is. So now what I did, I was good. I didn't know anything about the internet, I'm ignorant. And then Tito Ramos said, Joe, you don't know the internet? No, he says, come on, man, you gotta learn. So I started to learn. Every day, every morning, I would get up, I'd write, talk to people, and then I started building up a network. And then I started getting information from around the world. And then people said, JBattan is alive? Yeah, I said, I'm here.
I thought.
I'm here, right? They said, we thought JBattan was dead. And that when I perform, I say that. I say, yeah, a lot of people thought that I was dead.
Yeah.
Too.
10 years before. With some guys land in Cali, in Colombia, people was talking about different musicians. ¿Cómo se llama el dominicano? La Flamboyant. La Flamboyant.
Flamboyant, you talk about? Huh? Yeah, Frankie Dante.
Frankie Dante.
Yeah.
Died.
Right, he died.
JBattan died. El fulano died. And you were died.
You know, that's so.
And the story of the people.
Yeah, no, you know what happened? Somebody called me and said, Joe, they've been looking for you for 3 years. The same thing in Colombia. When Roma Ring came from Colombia, he said, we're looking for you for years to come to Colombia. I said, get out of here. It's in California, they did the same thing. So the guy said, we want you to come and do a concert in California. And I hadn't sang in a long time. He said, we have a band here. So I went to California. And when I got there, I saw people hiding in the bathroom and in the back seat, looking to see if I'm the real JBattan. Yeah. So I'm looking and I said, what's all these people hiding, you know? They said, they don't believe that you're JBattan. He said, you got to be an old man by now. It's got to be 90 years old. I said, yeah, I said, I'm almost 90, but I feel good. But anyway, when I sang in the rehearsal, they all ran out to say, JBattan is alive. He's going to be in the concert. And since that time, I can't get away from California and the West Coast. Los Chicanos, la raza, they love JBattan.
Yeah.
It's like I'm part Mexican, but whatever country I go, I'm part of that culture. They say when I go to Japan, I'm Japanese. I go to Australia, I'm Australian.
Philippines.
That's right, right? So, and then you look, you figure I'm part Filipino. But I went to the Philippines and I said, 4,000 people came because they hear the story. They're embarrassed that they don't know what JBattan is.
Yeah.
But because I made a song called Afro-Filipino, everybody wants to know who's JBattan, right? And, you know, I said, what took you so long? I recorded that record in 1970-something. But it's the company that you're with. See, a lot of Latin companies didn't reach far. It took all these years for the music. Not like Puente. Puente was with RCA and Tito. They were with big Decca Records. They were with big companies, so their records were out there before we even were born. But the new artists, it took a while to build up, you know? And not everybody can go to Europe or to South America or to this country, because people are not going to lose their money bringing you there if they don't think that you can do the job. Tiene que estar el trabajo, right? Or the music, or they want to make sure that you can sing, right?
¿Quiénes eran los músicos de tu banda?
What is that? ¿Qué significa?
Who were the musicians of your band?
Okay.
Yeah.
The initial band?
Yeah.
There was Eddie Nata, who was from 99th Street, played timbales. Chiqui Fuentes, first trombone. Ruben Hernandez, second trombone. Louis Davis played the bajo. Richie Cortez was bongos and cowbell. We had Chino Galang from 110, played conga. And I think that covers everybody. We had 8 guys. Yeah. And of course we had Michael Padilla. Yeah, he helped us out with singing also.
Yeah. Did you live in the Spanish Harlem? Right?
Yeah, in barrio 104.
104.
Right.
Yeah. And can you talk about your friends, musician friends? Maybe Lavo, Hector Lavo.
Oh, okay. This is a story that nobody knows about Hector.
Yeah.
In 1960, when Hector first came here, he had Brinca Chalco. Yeah? He came, and somebody was saying, hey, Lavo. I said, ¿Qué carajo Lavo? What are you talking about, Lavo? Who the hell is Lavo? He said, that skinny guy, ese flaco que está ahí. So what happened was when Hector came, él vivió con Caco. So in ese tiempo, Caco used to take all the musicians and put them in his house.
Yeah.
And they all slept on the floor or whatever. So Hector was right in there in the floor. And then he would come to the Colgate Gardens. And anytime he got a chance to sing with one of the bands, he would jump up on the stage. And he started to get a name like that. And of course, the rest is history. He started singing with Willie Colon. So a strange story. JBattan estaba pegado. I was hot. Willie Colon was hot too, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Then he had Hector. So Hector had a fight with Willie. he left, Wooly, right? Se dejó la banda. He came to me, right? Now I'm the singer, but I don't sing in Spanish. ¿Entiendes? Only now I do, but then I didn't sing in Spanish. All I do is English, and I have a Latin singer. So Hector said, Joe, I like to sing with your band. I said, what happened with Wooly? He said, I don't want to be with Wooly. So I want to be with your band. And I said, okay. I'm telling you, there was never a band like JBattan when I had Hector Lavoe, because you see, for many years, I didn't know what Hector was saying. I didn't know he was crazy, right? He's a funny guy. We played in Connecticut, and he's on the stage, and he thought, you know, gritando, yeah. So I'm playing the piano, and the guy say, ¿Qué le pasa con Hector? I said, no, he's talking to the audience. He's saying all kind of things. I said, what he's saying? He said, he's insulting those people out there, the husbands. He said that their wives son golda. He's going to take their wives with him and they van pa casa. I said, what? He said, yeah. I said, get out of here. He said, no. And the thing is, Hector could make that rhyme. ¿Entiende? Whatever he spirit, you know, when he ad-libbed, he could make a story. And he was insulting everybody. The next thing I know,
Sonero.
yeah, I was getting up like this. What happened? The people started chasing us. And Hector was flying. We ran from Connecticut hasta el Bronx, corriendo. They took the piano, they tiraron el piano and almost hit us. And when we got down, we were, ¿qué pasó allá? He said, fucking Hector, man. He insulted all those husbands and shit. They want to kill our ass. I said, what? I said, oh shit, but funny guy. We did the same thing in Puerto Rico. We almost got arrested. He sang in Puerto Rico, but he was such a talented guy that what he did only embellished what I did, because nobody could do what I was doing and nobody could do what Hector was doing. So we had both worlds. And to this day, nobody knows that Hector sang with me for 6 months. And when Fania found out, they said, oh no, we're gonna take that guy, let him get his own band. So Hector said, Joe, you know, they're gonna give me my own band. I said, go ahead, it's okay. Yeah, it's all right, thank you, man, you know. And he went, and of course, the rest is history. But Fania, they saw what was happening, and they took Hector away, and they made his band, and it became history.
You guys never recorded?
No, man, oh.
No, not recorded.
I wish.
Only sang
And let me tell you, it's because of my ignorance.
Yeah.
Hector was always telling me, he said, Joe, tengo un canción aquí that we could do now. I said, yeah, because I was doing so many hits of my own, I didn't have time to listen.
Yeah.
You know, this guy's half crazy. I mean, and because I was ignorant of the language, that I didn't understand a lot of the things were genius. What this guy was saying, to this day, forget it. You know, when I think about Hector, and I got pictures with him too, people.
But you don't have any of the recordings from those?
No, only if somebody, what's Ernie Tapes did some, we got it. I don't know if he ever, Ernie always told me he had tapes of mine.
But in Spanish, we do have a question related to your singing in English. Your hits were mostly, or are sang in English, of course. But you grew up in a barrio, you learned how to dance salsa, to play, you know, Latin music because of your influence with all those musicians. But why do you sing mostly in English? Because you speak Spanish.
Speak broken down Spanish, man. You get embarrassed. You got to understand what they teach you in a language, in a foreign language. You have to think the same way sometimes. You can talk, but it might not have the same meaning. And what I found out when I was taking Spanish in school, that after a while, it interfered with my English. I don't know why. You know what I mean? But if you get me in a foreign country, I get home. No matter what the language, because I can speak Spanish in any country and they understand what I'm talking about. I've done it in Germany, everybody. When I want to get out, I say, mira, estoy perdido. Where do I go? They find out. For some reason, Spanish is a universal language. Yeah, so if I'm uptight and I have to speak Spanish, trust me, I can do sign language in my broken Spanish, I get to go where I gotta go. They were always saying, yo soy un filipino guiado de puertorriqueño, you know, so, you know. But my father is Filipino, my mother's black, but el corazón mío es Latino. You see, because Latinos are the ones that put JBattan on the map. There's no other. Without Latinos, JBattan would not exist. It's only now that everybody else is discovering JBattan, you know? Or they want me because he's part black, or because he's Filipino now. But Latinos at that time didn't care, you know, what I was. I was one of the fellas, you know? And they would defend me. Even when I was in prison, I stood in Spain. I don't know if you understand that. In prison, they have a wall, right? So aquí se paran los morenos, aquí se paran los blanquitos, y aquí se paran los latinos. En el medio son los cripes, all right? Yo paré aquí con España. Okay? So, cuando yo salí para el yard, entonces, adiós, ¿qué cara? ¿Dónde va este tipo? Dice, él va a parar conmigo, ese es amigo mío. Dice, ¿eres ningún latino? Dice, no, es mi hermano, él va a parar aquí. You know, so when I came down, I walked over, and tú sabes que ellos tienen línea,
Sí.
imaginary line.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
si tú la cruces,
Yeah.
pipa, right? So I went there because yo fui guapo, you know, que fue que se son amigos míos, son latinos.
Yeah.
Right? And I was always accepted that way. Pero en la música fue envidia. Right? There were those que son puertorriqueños or Latinos that didn't want JBattan to be successful.
Yeah.
You see, even in the record, pero they would do that with JBattan, pero no con Jerry Masucci, Jack Cook, que fue blanco. They were not Latino, pero con él tiene plata, it was okay. That's right. They were all a little clique. And if it wasn't for Latinos, they wouldn't have had nothing. You see? But when it came to, like, you know, little petty jealousies, you know, you have that. Because I was going to be the first musician to have his own TV show.
TV.
Yeah, they were going to give me a TV show. We had, I forget the name of the the big advertising companies, you know, and at that time. And they did everything they were going to do it. And of course you had some of them that went out there and they said, oh, he's not Latino, he cannot represent us on TV. And they fought with the advertising, and of course they didn't want no problems. So they squashed me out, you know. Then meanwhile they went through the back door and they tried to get the TV shows. But you know, somebody said, damn, JBattan was always at the brink, you know, to do something, and something always happened. You know, and maybe it's for a good reason. Maybe I was trading off that I'm still alive and everybody else has passed away or not here. So I'll take that before I take the money and wealth that I'm still here to tell my story.
Going back, you just mentioned a very interesting story about your experience with Hector Lavoe. In terms of the musicians, you know, what Latino or Latin musicians influence most of your professional life?
Oh, the Gran Combo, first of all. I never met such nice guys when I was young. Montané, this guy was big star. He took me aside and said, Battan, you know, you should play like this and take your time. And then I saw how sharp they drew. I learned that from Tito Rodriguez, right? How he was always neat. The women loved him. Yes, you have to learn that. I seen other musicians, I don't want to name their names, they were sloppy on stage at the Riverside Plaza. And I said, nah. And I see how the women jumped to Tito Rodriguez. I said, yeah, I want to be like him. Yeah. That guy got class. And then from Montañez in the Gran Combo, I said, look at this guy, man. He knows how to move and dance. They got routine. I said, I want to do that too. And then I said, Joe Cuba, he had the best breaks that I ever heard. And I said, every song we got, we're going to have a break. So I put all these little things together that I was learning. And imagine, I wasn't Latino, but I had to learn how to dance. Right? So the guys used to try to teach me, no, you're not dancing in clave. They dance different now. I don't even know how they dance now, you know. But it was interesting to see the music change and the artists that were coming up in those days, you know, and how they influenced me. You know, Caco, nobody hit the timbales harder than Caco. So when I had a timbale player, I wanted him to play just like Caco, but I didn't know Caco had these big drums, you know. He had leadies, I don't know what the heck it was, but when he played, you heard that, you know. And of course, hearing Mongo play the conga, that was great, you know. And I try to get musicians like that, but young, you see, because I felt that if I had young people, there would be more carifreco on stage. You see, sometimes when I play now, I don't want nobody older than me. I don't get me wrong, because if they're not going to move, you defeat the purpose. Because people want to be entertained. You see, they don't want you. You can play good, yeah, bing, 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 and you stay at a sad song. You get your money. They want to be entertained, just like when I wanted to be entertained. When I used to go watch Joe Cuba, I said, "This guy only got 6 guys. How is he so exciting?" And I used to watch. You know, I said, "Joe Cuba, I said, wow." So they used to come see me play, to see what they could find out about me. And I used to laugh. I said, they don't know that they were my idol. And I was watching Jimmy Sabater watching me, you know. And you know, even Eddie. He said, "Joe, you can't play like I can play, but I can't sing like you." You know? So look, at that time, Larry Harlow, Joe Quijano, they were all trying to get my songs when I was first starting, because they know that Gypsy Woman was going to be a big hit. They promised me anything. They said, "So sing with our band." And for some reason, I don't know, I held out. I didn't jump. I said, I'm going to do this myself, and that was the best move that I did, you know, that I didn't sell out, you know, or go with somebody else, and I did my own sound, you know. So, and somebody said that. They said, JBattan didn't have anything given to me. I had to go get it. It's a difference. So if I didn't go out to get what I got, JBattan would not exist. You see? But nobody was saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you this. You're going to get this if you come here." No. Every time, JBattan had to go get it. Even to this day, I got to go get it. I'm trying to get him to get me to play. Because in Barrio, that's my hometown. I got to come back. And it's big. I want it to be the biggest old-timers ever. I want it to be just like Central Park. 10,000 people, easy. You know? Because there's not too many people left.
Let me ask you this. Did you and Willie Bobo ever cross or work together?
No. He was with Bill Crosby. He loved him. And California, and I know his stories, I know his family.
He was from 110.
Yeah. But then he went to the West Coast, you know.
Okay.
No, I missed out on him.
Well, what do you think of Felipe Luciano's radio influence back then?
Okay, let me tell you.
You touched on a good subject.
Let me tell you Felipe's story.
New York is behind. With
Yeah.
music. I don't listen to music. BAI, you know, with
Let me tell you
guys.
what you don't know.
Mickey, Felipe's still on. It's
Yeah,
boring.
Mickey knows, because I told him. You know, we didn't get to talk too much, but something I learned just recently. All these guys knew that they were warned to kill JBattan off, Felipe included. Yeah? Because when I say the story, he jumps up and says, "Joe, I know." How could you know? Unless Jerry Masucci told you, "Don't play JBattan." And he didn't play me. Now, Felipe was locked up with me in Kaksaki. I saved his life in there. All right? Él estaba en la casa conmigo. So you would think, hey, you got to play JBattan. He wrote the first big article on me in New York Magazine. But he didn't play JBattan. Like Symphony Sid didn't play. All of them didn't play. The only one that backed me was Hector Masanabe. because the old man who told him, they told him, don't put JBattan in your dances. He said, why not? JBattan sells tickets. I want JBattan. And he went against him. That's why JBattan played.
¿Quiénes eran sus amigos músicos? Your friends, más...
Now?
No, in that time.
On that time?
Musicians, yeah.
You have to, okay, let me explain to you. So,
Friends.
musicians didn't really have friends unless they were in your band. And that didn't have to last if you had a fight with them. Because the music of that day, I'm talking a lot, I'm gonna get out of here, was like gangs. We were all in competition. ¿Entiende?
Yeah.
So when Joe Cuba played, I'm gonna whip Joe Cuba's ass today. Puente played, I seen Joe Cuba and Jimmy Savile kick his drum. He said, king of what? ¿Qué carajo? Rey de qué? Pa, puñe, pa. I see Luis Ramirez. It's all funny guys, man. I used to watch them, and they were funny because everybody thought that they were the best. Even Orlando Marin, he still says he's the last Mambo King. You know, Orlando, he'll tell you. You know, it's just like, we talking about king or this. But, you know, the fact was everybody was in competition. When Willie Colon played, I wanted to throw him pata. I wanted to outdo him because fue un pelea siempre. And the same thing happened with the Titos. Tito Puente and Tito Rodriguez, they were battling in, was it Berlin? In the Palladium?
Yeah.
Yeah, Machito too. Yeah.
Competition.
Battle of the bands.
Yeah, they were battling. There was always competition. So when they talk about gangs now, that was our gangs. Right? That was gangs. So fue ganga, pero different, but with music.
Lo que gusta y el saludito final.
Yeah. I gave you a lot, man.
No sé si tiene alguna pregunta.
O sea, Felipe Luciano fue muy puntual, sí, muy...
Oh, yeah, Felipe, well, they're behind. They're not opening it up. All right? It's one thing to keep going into the past, what you got to do. But sometimes you got to open. How's the music going to grow? Are you letting in the younger generation coming in? Are you letting them know what's connected from their music? Okay, you say you're doing it in the schools. Are you really doing it in the schools?
No, it's not happening.
It's not happening. They don't know their culture. Or else they would have been like, come on. Not like that.
They don't have music in the schools pretty much anymore.
That's right. They cut the budgets.
They cut big time. The music
They cut the
doesn't
budgets.
exist. Any arts. Arts doesn't exist.
Yeah, but you see like Ford Motor,
You
they
made a good point about the radios. There's no radio stations whatsoever that Latinos can control and have.
There you go.
JBattan music, Tito Puente.
Right.
You got La Mega.
Yeah.
And the closest you can come to some decent music, I think, is in Puerto Rico and La Zeta. I don't know about Colombia because the La Zeta.
But look at
it's
it.
also owned by
Yeah, it's true.
the Cuban population.
Right. Coqui, está llevando.
No, it's not.
Yeah. But it's like baseball, the same thing. You know, blacks don't even play anymore. You know?
Is your phone?
JBattan calling me.
JBattan too.
Hey,
Yeah, I can say, I know the black community, and I don't like to use black community, but the African American and black community has always been an admirer of JBattan. And people my age and our age, because I'm 65, and co-workers, and when I tell them, I know JBattan, or they say, but he died. or can I get his music? Can you make? And I said, no, I don't make copies for anybody. You can buy it on Amazon.
There you go.
$1.
Right.
You know, and
Exactly.
that's one of the things that I'm definitely against. That
Yeah.
you guys are not getting that royalty.
True.
Because now
Look,
bootleggers it's like crazy.
Let me say this is very important. It is criminal. Damn it, criminal. That all of these musicians are dying and they can't afford their funerals. Why?
Medical care.
Let me tell you a story. In 1976, JBattan was organizing. I organized the music. I didn't have to. I was playing everywhere. I was like #1 in New York. they came to me. I didn't want to mention all the names, but there were those big names were in this room in El Barrio in 107th Street in the house, and they all said, Joe, we want to play more. You know, I said, well, you guys got to organize. They didn't even know what I'm talking about. I said, you don't got no health care. You get sick tomorrow, you ain't got nothing. You got to go beg him for a few dollars. So fue la envidia that they went back and they told this to Jerry Masucci, JBattan is organizing, he started trouble. So that started the road where they were going to cut JBattan out. And what they were doing, the musicians were hoping to take my place, which they did. A lot of them did. But they went under Jerry Masucci, and I'm sorry to say, besa culo. All right? Because I seen it. I was there.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, ¿tú necesitas chavo? Toma. Billete de 100. Toma. Right? Oh, okay, gracias, gracias. You know, he said, se van. But what happened? When Hector Lavoe died, he got a phone call from Jerry. Hector, how you doing? He said, carajo, tú me estás llamando ahora.
Así era.
Fucking too late. They don't want to tell you these stories. That's true. You know, so you look at it. I mean, come on, I don't want to say all the name, I can't. But there's people there that died that didn't have money. You would never believe.
And today,
They didn't have money. Bill Crosby paid for their funeral. Marlon Brando paid for the funeral. Other people paid for their funeral. That should not happen. They should have had some kind of union, something. What's all this fighting about salsa and pure music when you can't even fight for their health? All the music and the things that these people have contributed to the world. But meanwhile, you fight about, hey, you know, I want to dance because I don't like this guy because he's black or this one is yellow. Okay, get out, you fight for that. Fight for something for these musicians to have some kind of health care so that they could take care of their families. Or put them wise to what they're doing. Teach the next generation. Don't let them make the same mistakes. Because there's none. There's no union. There's nothing. It's only la clave. And once the clave is gone, you die.
and you're right, because you see it, without mentioning names, today, international stars, Latinos, that don't have to be on Medicare and food stamps. And what happened? Where's all the money? What
We're
happened?
driving a Wawa, yeah.
It's lucky that JBattan had a job. The greatest secret that I worked for the city. My family and everybody was covered. So I never had to worry about health care.
Thank God. Thank God.
But only a few musicians
That had jobs. And jobs, right?
that had that kind of benefits. But most of them, they were not even thinking about when this day comes. That's why they disappear. You think that they're dead, they're around. Se pasó el bochorno. Why did I do all that for what? I ain't got nothing.
And what do you think about salsa now? It's
Well,
dying too.
yeah, because it needs some rebirth. The only way you're going to get the rebirth is through the radio. And the people, the young people.
Yeah.
The young people got to rise up. The old people have to teach.
Yeah.
But you see, everybody that was teaching, they moved to Florida. So they took it with them. They just left the memory. They didn't leave nothing behind. Very few people that are trying, but they need help. We need the radio. We need more than one radio station.
Yeah.
We don't have no radio station. Why can't we go out there and take it? We can take it. It just takes cojones.
Maestro,
And that's the problem.
ya, yo tengo un programa de salsa, se llama La Salsa Ayer y Hoy,
Now and then, okay.
en la emisora de la Universidad del Valle. You can hear it, listen it by Real Audio
Okay.
en the website de Universidad del Valle, ¿no?
Oh, all right.
105.3 FM, La Salsa Ayer y Hoy.
Ayer y
Todos
hoy.
los sábados de 6 de la tarde a 8 de la noche.
So will you broadcast from Colombia?
Ya.
Oh, yeah, okay.
University.
All right.
Y le quiero pedir un favor, si usted me da un saludo para el
Sure,
programa
sure.
y los oyentes,
Sure.
y singen a little of del avión. Everybody.
Okay.
It's a good
Y,
feeling.
y comienza y hace el saludo. My name is JBattan. Un saludo para los oyentes de la salsa ayer y hoy.
Oh, pero ¿dónde están los pejuelos? Ay, María.
Tranquilo.
Espérate, vamos a buscar los pejuelos.
Okay.
Oh, it's a white card balance. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
Put it in the wrong
Oh, I'm
place.
sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, vamos a ver.
It's a task, Joe.
Huh?
Task to teach. I
Yeah.
mean, all this stuff here, and my kids come here and they go, I know him, and it's like a continuous daily thing. The whole display we have downstairs,
But you see, that's how they started.
you know, and it's a
It's a test. It can happen again.
It sure can happen. And my thing with education is, and we do it pretty much with our program. Like I tell you, I had Sonny here, those guys. But it's become so difficult to tell the Department of Education that you have to change the way the system is now, because you have to show these kids who they are, where they come from, and the roots, that's a good word, the roots of why are they here in this country, why their parents came here, the music that we grew up on. And that's a major task to try to get the change. You know, we can't keep talking about Christopher Columbus and all that.
Hey,
That
yeah,
stuff has to go already, Ja.
yeah.
I'm sorry. And they don't want to do that. That's not part of the curriculum. The music has been eliminated. You went to school in Ebony and you had music class, right? Regardless of how good or bad it was, it was music class.
Right.
And all the rooms had. Right now, one of my schools around the corner has a grand piano. It's been there for years, covered. They have music deck classes, the whole stuff. Nothing. That school is called Health Opportunities. They don't teach health.
Get out of here.
Should be school. It's one of my schools. They
Unbelievable.
don't teach health.
Let me do this for you.
Music should
Man.
be taught. Period. Period. That should be part of your curriculum. They teach us better math.
Oyentes
Oyentes, sí.
de la salsa ayer y hoy
Eso.
por
Univalle
Univalle
Estéreo.
Estéreo, el programa de Alejandro Ulloa. Ulloa.
Eso.
Okay. He's wiping my Spanish.
Yo Spanish.
Let's see.
That's
Let me
it.
know. Oh, okay. You want? I can't see without these glasses. Oh, you're gonna put me on tape too?
No,
Okay.
no problem.
Okay.
Are you like
Okay.
everybody?
All right, everybody, clap your hands. Let me hear that beat. When you're down and out to know there's someone standing by, saying, baby, get up and try it again. You can make it if you try. Someone to encourage you when you're ready to turn around. Take your hand and understand that when you're up, and when you're down. So know this feeling's good for you, and clap your hand. Well, that's a good, good feeling that I feel inside. Yeah. My name is JBattan. Un saludo para los oyentes de la salsa ayer y hoy por Univalle Estéreo, el programa de Alejandro Ulloa.
Alejandro Ulloa. Ya, JBattan. Muchas gracias.
Okay. Gracias. Okay.
Esteban.